Good evening. We've been monitoring the COVID-19 situation in India very closely, and all of you know that we made a move to tighten the arrivals from India on Tuesday. But since then, the situation in India has continued to worsen. Within our community, as you heard just now, we've also picked up a few cases in the dormitories. Now, there is no evidence that these cases are linked to India or the new strain in India. But what is of concern to us is the risk of reinfection amongst recovered workers. These are workers that were previously infected, but now are getting infected again. The majority of new arrivals from India work in the construction, marine, and process sectors, and they live in the dormitories. Even if they were to serve out the stay-home notice, we know that that is never 100% foolproof, and leaks can still happen. And if such a leak were to happen amongst new Indian arrivals working in these sectors, then a new strain may get leaked into the dormitory, and worse, even recovered or vaccinated workers may get infected, and then we may see new clusters emerging again in our dormitories. So as a precaution, we will be taking additional steps to tighten our border measures on top of what you heard from Minister Tan just now. From 23rd of April, 2359 hours, all long-term pass holders and short-term visitors with recent travel history to India will not be allowed entry into Singapore or transit through Singapore. This will also apply to all those who had obtained prior approval for entry into Singapore. Earlier, we had announced an extended stay-home notice of 21 days for those travelers with recent travel history to India, and that 21 days was made up of 14 days in a dedicated facility with the option of serving out the remaining 7 days at the place of residence. We will tighten this further such that all Indian arrivals from India will have to serve out their stay-home notice in dedicated facilities.
Good evening, ministers and DMS. I would just like to ask the question regarding the worrying case of increased numbers in India. So with that situation in India, is there any travel advisory the government is looking to issue to Singapore residents who have plans to travel to India?
The travel advisory remains as it is, but the broad travel advisory remains as it is. But I would say, anyone who wants to travel overseas, and when we have imposed now this restriction on travelers from India coming back to Singapore, and so if someone from Singapore now wants to go to India, has to be prepared that potentially they will have difficulties coming back. That's what they have to be prepared for. So perhaps somebody who's returning there for long-term or going there for long-term purposes, we won't restrict that movement, but whoever goes there and hopes to come back to Singapore soon, I think that would potentially be difficult because we are restricting the travel, and potentially there'll be very few flights coming in. So I think coming back from India would be very difficult for the time being. We don't know when we will lift this new restriction. This is really a temporary freeze on arrivals from India so as to give us time to monitor the situation in India, to understand better the new variants that are there and the risk they pose to us, and at the same time for us to have the time to clear out the situation that we have seen recently in the dormitories.